I'm Kardelen, and I am industrial engineering sophomore at Koç University in Istanbul, and also media and visual arts. So I've been playing this sport since 2019. It's more than 2 years or something. And the thing actually we're trying to do is discuss and share our ideas about the mixed sport, since we are all not familiar about the basic idea of the mixed sport, and it's actually hard. So we're actually trying to improve our perspectives about this sport, since it's actually not about only the woman's perspective, because also the man's perspective is very important, since the mixed sports is very the complex idea. So basically, this is what we're trying to do. I mean, I really liked your slide, as I said at the beginning. So I hope that this session gonna be really helpful for us to improve ultimate in Turkey.
Okay, great, thank you. Maybe Alex, you can also present yourself.
Okay, I'm Alex, and I'm also in the Koç University. We have started to, I have started to play Frisbee with Kardelen at the same day, I guess, in 2019. I'm studying molecular biology and genetics. Yeah, and everything Kardelen said was a very good saying about what we are doing right now.
Also, we are the co-captains of our university's ultimate Frisbee team, which is the most important thing about actually us, but we forgot to mention.
Okay, then Melih, you can present yourself.
Great. Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm playing for 10 years. I was playing in Frisbee Teknik and Caddebostan in Turkey. I was the captain of Frisbee Teknik. Then I played in Barcelona. Now I'm playing with Rabbits, also helping them to coach at some point. And I also coached the under-20 Turkish national team. I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah, is there any other person who is organizing this?
Yeah, me. I'm Egemen. I'm the captain of the Middle East Technical University Ultimate Frisbee team currently. I've been playing it's my 7th year, I think, playing 6 years. It's my 7th year. I started in high school. We founded the first high school team in Turkey and kept playing. That's basically it.
Okay. So Alex, Kardelen, and Egemen have organized this webinar, right?
And we have Olgu.
Okay, yeah. Olgu, can you present yourself?
Hey, sorry for late coming. I was just run to my room from the training. I am Olgu. It's my 5th year in Ultimate Frisbee. I am captain of the Sabancı University team for 2 years. And I'm really looking forward to listen your experiences and create an impact with them in order to play real mixed ultimate in Turkey.
Okay, thank you very much. Are you all located in the same city in Turkey? No?
Not exactly, yeah. For example, me, Kardelen, and Alex are in Istanbul, but Egemen is in Ankara right now.
Okay. Okay. So the 4 of you have organized this webinar. Anyone else?
But actually more than 4, but I don't know if there's anyone who likes to introduce themselves or something. But also we're actually mostly from Istanbul too, but Ankara and Izmir also follows it too. But yeah, mostly Istanbul.
Okay. Okay, shall I start the presentation?
Yeah, sure.
Then I'll show my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. So good evening to all the people who are listening. It's a little bit annoying not to see everyone. But yeah, I'm very happy that you organized this because I think it's a really interesting topic and there is a lot to say. Because a lot of people are currently researching and trying, experimenting different stuff, mostly to improve the number and the quality of women players involved in Ultimate Frisbee in Europe. So yeah, I'll quickly start by presenting myself. So my name is Manon, as you can see here. And I play currently in Belgium. I've given you here a little picture of my experience in Ultimate Frisbee. So in the middle, you have the French national team. That's the team I played with in the European Championship in 2019, where we lost in the final against Great Britain. But that is the climax of my Ultimate Frisbee career currently. I started playing in 2014, so 8 years ago, a bit less, 7 years and a half ago, in Russia, in Moscow. So on the left, you have almost all of my Russian teams. Lemongrass is a women team. Southwest, the team picture is also a women team with which I have played European Club Championship. Then you have the logo of Baumann here, the green one, and it's the first university team with which I have played. And below that, you have me with the jersey of the other university team that I have played with, because when I started Ultimate Frisbee, I played with 2 universities. So yeah, these are Russian teams. And then Jinx, it's a Berlin team, a German team, because for my studies, I went to Germany for a year and I played both women with Jinx and mixed with disc kick. So that's the logo that you see on the right of the slide. So that's when I played in Germany. And then I moved back to France because I'm originally from France. And there I played with Puck. So that's the logo, like the above logo that you can see here, Puck Ultimate. And that's the team that I'm going to play in the United States this summer with. So it's basically the team from Paris that I am the closest to because it's the one that I have played the longest with. Most of these teams I have only played for 1 season with. So that's the French team. And then, as I said, currently I live in Belgium. So I played with the Flying Rabbits with Melih for a year, 2 years because, yeah, there was COVID. But yeah, so 2 years and one of them was COVID. And currently I changed club and now I play for Jet Set. That is the logo on the lower right side. And I play with them mixed and women. And the women team is one of the best women teams in Belgium. So as you see, I emphasize a lot the fact that I play mixed and women because this is very different for me, playing mixed and playing women. And both of them are very interesting. And there is, yeah, there are issues in several teams to play women. So they play mixed a little bit by default. And yeah, I'm trying to understand why it is important to play both women and mixed. So that's it for me. So how many people do we have in the room now? 25. All right. So maybe we won't do the round of presentation because that might be too long. If anyone wants to ask questions or whatever during the presentation, don't hesitate to do so in the chat. And I will check from time to time so as to answer your questions. The idea for me was to have this presentation as interactive as possible. Just so when I talk to make sure that you understand and that you're interested in what I say. So if you're not interested, just ask questions on the things that you're interested in and I can just stop my presentation and talk with you because that's the most important. Okay, so that's mainly it for the introduction of this webinar. Can I switch slide? Yes. Yeah, so that slide was mostly about your expectations toward this webinar. As I said, I wanted to be interactive. I wanted to answer your expectations. So maybe you can write in the chat what are your expectations. I will explain you what these pictures mean. So just type 1 in the chat if you are here like because you want to discover what mixed ultimate is about and what is the difference between mixed and women. And it's just like you're interested, so you're connecting, but it's not something that you want to invest a lot of time in. The picture number 2, so type 2 in the chat if you want to learn what European Federation is doing about this topic, what other clubs are doing about this topic, and what you could do for your own team and your own community. So that's number 2. Number 3, if you're here to discuss with me, but also with your friends and with the other people who connected tonight. Number 4, you're convinced about the topic, so you see the Power Rangers, the ones who want to fight. So if it is something that you're really convinced of and that you want to act upon, and also that you think you need to convince other people of. Number 5, the small animal, I'm not sure the name in English, but yeah, if you just want to like have an eye on this topic, but you also have a lot of other stuff to handle, so yeah, you just want to be aware of this. So yeah, the difference between number 5 and number 1 is a little bit fizzy, but yeah, number 1 is more about you want to discover, you're excited, you don't have much time, but you're excited. Number 5 is more you want to be aware, but yeah, not so excited about the topic. And number 6, if you are a little bit worried about the topic and want to be reassured that somebody is doing about it, and or if you want yourself to reassure your teammates who have some doubts about this topic. So I see absolutely no message in the chat. Okay, thank you. Number 2 and number 5. Number 2. Okay, so you want to learn what other clubs are doing about it and what the European Federation is doing about it. Number 5, you want to be aware of it. Okay, good. Well, it's good if you want to learn what others are doing about it, because that's the main point of the presentation today. So I'll go to the next slide. First thing, so why is it important to talk about women in Ultimate? Most of all, because women in general in society are less involved in sports than men. And there are a lot of studies that show that the fact that women are less involved in sports is not because they don't want to, but because the organization of society is such that women have less time and less opportunities to be involved in sports. On the other side, sports brings a lot of positive outcomes, energy release, release in general, also mental release, fun, of course, the feeling of being rewarded and recognized as a performing person or yeah, a good person, an efficient person in society. And then also social connections, friends, parties, and stuff like that. So a lot of positive outcomes. Of course, it's not all of them, but it's some of them. And yeah, why would women not benefit from these outcomes? And Ultimate Frisbee is an ideal sport for women to be involved in sports because it's a team sport, so brings a lot of social connections. It involves different kinds of capacities. Athletic capacities, but also tactical and mental capacities and technical capacities. So there is space in Ultimate Frisbee for women as much as for men. Also women with different profiles, the ones who like to run a lot and the ones who like to think a lot and the ones who like to practice a lot, well, different profiles. Ultimate Frisbee is also a good sport for women involvement because it's a non-contact sport and that facilitates the mixed game where men and women can play together and really together and not just side by side on the field. And finally, because it's a self-refereed sport, which also supports communication a lot. So I hope you're convinced that it is important to talk about women in Ultimate and to promote the presence of Ultimate in Frisbee. So one of the most important questions is why there are not so many women involved in Ultimate and the sports in general. Why there are not more women teams, why there are not real mixed teams. And well, this is different in every country. So maybe you can type in the chat why you think that women are not so much involved in Ultimate Frisbee in Turkey. Is it because they don't have enough time? Is it because they just don't think about it? They don't know about it? Is it because there are not so many women in sports in general in Turkey? Or is it because I don't know, there are not enough infrastructure available, maybe not enough stadiums? Is it because there is another sport that is more famous in Turkey and that women play more? Yeah, maybe you can type in the chat what you think is a reason why there are not so many women teams in Turkey, for example. Okay, Melih says Ultimate Frisbee is not a real sport in Turkey. That's the case actually in other countries as well, that Ultimate Frisbee is not always taken seriously. It's not very well known. And women are not encouraged to do sports in your country, okay? Okay, so that means when you're kids in school, for example, do women also participate in sports classes?
We don't have proper gym classes in Turkey.
Okay. So this is a channel in other countries in general where you can involve more women. Yes, so the thing is, if women, don't know about it, you don't have enough players in your country for women team. Okay, and you don't have the opportunity to promote your sports. Okay, so what we will do is see what is being done currently in other countries and at the European level. So we try to see if this is something that you could use for your teams. But I guess there are some women playing in your teams, right? Because Melih told me there are about 50, 60 women players in Turkey. That is actually an information that would be relevant to collect. How many women are playing in Turkey? How many players there are at all in Turkey? This is actually the very beginning, knowing what the situation is.
Actually, there's at least 70 women players in Turkey. At least, because I shared a form about it. So there was 70 participants.
Okay, so there are at least 70 players, and maybe there are more players who just didn't respond. They are not aware of them. Okay, and do you know how they joined Ultimate Frisbee? Is it through university most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time probably because of the universities or something. Because nobody knows about it.
Okay, and is it the same case for men, that most of them, they join through universities?
Yes. There are only 3 or 4 high schools which has a team, ultimate team. So most of the time people know about the sport in university. Actually, that's why we are all just knowing mixed sports, and we are trying to adapt ourselves, our behaviors for a mixed sport. For example, I also didn't do any mixed sport before. Maybe this is one of the difficulties in front of us. to play ultimate frisbee?
The fact that there is no other mixed sport.
I guess korfball can play mixed, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay, but so according to you, one of the difficulties in Turkey is the fact that people don't play team sport before university?
People don't play frisbee before university, so they don't
Yes,
play
okay.
a mixed sport before university. So most of the time, there are players who just adapted from other sports like football, basketball, handball, and it's hard to adapt non-contact sports without referees or observers in our country. It can be difficult.
Okay. And then someone say, I think generally Turkish people are very ambitious because women generally don't have sport background. They are not given enough responsibility. Okay. So, yeah, main issues from what I understood from you is that people don't play frisbee before university and they come from other sports, and women don't get enough responsibilities. Okay, don't hesitate to continue writing in the chat what you think about why there are not so many women who play ultimate frisbee and not so many people who play ultimate frisbee in general in Turkey. Okay, I will continue. Sorry, I have to move this. So yeah, what can we do to improve women participation in ultimate? This webinar is mostly focused on women because it's Women's International Day first, and second because that's what I am taking care of. Not so much about improving the number of ultimate frisbee players in general. But I guess solutions could also be similar for men. I mean, yeah, starting from juniors, but also when you're at the training, making the trainings entertaining for the players. So for women, how can you support the fact that more women would come to training, would be attracted first by the sport, and then would be interested in the training and would continue coming to the training? Yeah, you need to help them feel better in their clubs and in their trainings by giving them responsibilities, but also by just giving them the attention that they need on the field, giving them enough space. You need to help them become better players. If they have the feeling that they are improving, they will stay. And yeah, you need to bring the gender equity values to the wider society. So you need to make sure that the role of the women in society does not enter in confrontation with their engagement into ultimate frisbee. That everybody respects the fact that they are doing a lot of sport and very involved in it. Yeah, male players' mindset makes women play ultimate less confident. That's true, and that's also why it is important to make women feel comfortable into clubs and training. So what is being done currently for these 3 points? Help women feel better into clubs and trainings, help them become better players, and also have society more relating to this. So I will give you 3 examples of actions that are currently undertaken. The first one is from our club in Brussels, the Flying Rabbits. They have published a gender book last year that is about practices on how to make trainings more interesting for women, mixed trainings more interesting for women, so that women enjoy the trainings where they play together with men. So how did they start this, the gender book initiative? So the Flying Rabbits, it's originally a group of friends, and it was men and women who were friends, and they started playing frisbee in the park in 2013, so a relatively long time ago if you consider the frisbee history of the people that I heard today. But in Belgium you have this national women championship. I don't know if this exists in Turkey. Do you have a national women championship? No. Okay, so actually I think that would be a starting point to have a championship, to force women's teams to be created. So because there is a women national championship in Belgium, they made up a women team. They recruited women and they made a women team. And they noticed that playing between women was actually really entertaining and more interesting for them than playing mixed. And because it was more interesting for them to play women than mixed, the men in the team started thinking that it's not normal and that they should feel better when they play together with the men. And so they launched this reflection and they created tools to improve women enjoyment of mixed game. So I'll just check the chat. Yeah, you don't have a women division. So I don't know where actually it should start. Considering you have already 70 women players, I think you have the potential to have some women teams. Also because I suppose a lot of them are in universities and in the same cities, so they could just gather and have women teams, even if the mixed teams that they play in, they are not, like they are different mixed teams, they could gather to have a women team. Because you will see that one of the key tools to have women enjoy Ultimate more is to have single gender training. That means train just between women. So the idea is that it is really enjoyable to play between women, at least as enjoyable as playing mixed, and sometimes, and actually quite often, even more enjoyable. So it is important to have these single training, but also to discuss why is it more enjoyable to play between women. And so what the Flying Rabbits did, our clubs in Brussels, they created the co-mix, which is a mixed gender group, so a small group made up of different people, men and women, to think about why it is more interesting for women to play women than mixed, and then to bring to practice some rules that would make women enjoy more the practices. And so they established the Gender Diversity Month, which is 1 month in the season where there are only mixed trainings, not single gender. And in these mixed trainings, they have specific gender rules. For example, men are only allowed to throw on women and women are only allowed to throw on men. Or another rule could be that only women can throw the assist, so the throw that scores the point. Or that only women are allowed to pull, or that the pull has to be thrown alternatively by a man and a woman. Well, so there are several kind of rules, and you can find them in their gender book. The gender book is available on their website, and the website, I think, the link to the gender book is actually behind this illustration here. So yeah, I hope you will receive the slides. Then you can check the gender book and find a lot of different mixed rules that they have implemented in their practices. Another kind of rules that they have done is the positive discrimination rules. That is also part of the mixed specific rules. For example, the fact that only women are allowed to pull, or that only women are allowed to score the point, or that women are leading the warm-up, that women are giving the instructions on the line when you get ready for a point, that they say who will be handler, who will be cutter, who will do the first cut, this kind of stuff. So yeah, giving women more responsibility, as you said, that they need more responsibility. Another thing that they introduced is the single gender trainings. So before, they were just training, like all the people who come to training, they train together. So they try to be a little bit more organized and to define who should come to the training when, and who should coach which kind of training, and who should participate in which training. And so I think it was once a month at the beginning, they had one training where they were separating men and women. And then they had another training where they were separating experienced and unexperienced players. And then they had one training where everybody was playing together. So they just introduced a kind of structure of the trainings. So that was the single gender trainings. And then they also started the gender diversity workshops because they found out when they introduced their gender diversity month that some players didn't like them because they thought that it was useless to promote women and to impose that specific players would do the pool, or that specific players would give the instructions on the line. So because some players didn't like it, they asked them to come to workshops, basically like 1 hour or 2 hours, where people would come and just discuss why we are doing this gender diversity month, and why we have the feeling that women are not promoted enough in the trainings, and that they are not given enough responsibilities, so they don't have fun at the trainings. Yeah, thank you. Melih has no, somebody has given Ecehan the link to the gender book in the chat, so you can check it if you want. So yeah, these workshops were actually very important in order for the Gender Diversity Month to be efficient and to really change the culture and the habits in the club. And this is actually the workshops, these workshops and discussions we are now trying to reproduce in other clubs in Belgium, but I will present that in another example that I will present later. And finally, what they have done at the Flying Rabbits is to take statistics from games. So they were streaming games and then taking the statistics of how many times it was a man who had the disc, how many times it was a woman, and how many times a woman was throwing on a man, how many times a woman was throwing on a woman, and how many times a man was throwing on a man and a man was throwing on a woman. And they found out that men were throwing on men very often, but even more often, women were throwing on men. So, and it almost never happened that women were throwing on women, and very rarely happened that men were throwing on women. So they found out that the women were touching the disc much less often than men. So it's just to give like an objective basis to the discussion. So that's the tools that they used and that they developed in their gender books. And then the advices that they derived from these tools. So yeah, they advise to involve the coaches because they are the ones who can bring rules to the training. They also found out that it was important to have, beyond the coaches, a relay person, like a person that the team is trusting, who like people listen to in the team, so that this person can explain why we are doing this. And they defined this after the workshop, because in the workshops they realized that some people you can never convince that the rules are reasonable. So you need, you need people who they trust to ask them to do the things that the coaches advise. Finally, having discussion and enable everybody to talk and to listen to others through the workshops is very important. Use objective facts and arguments through the statistics that they developed, and follow up on results. So they took the statistics, then they implemented the positive discrimination rules, the specific mixed rules, etc. And after that, I think last summer, we took statistics again to see if it had improved, if we had more women who were touching the disc. And well, we were happy because it had improved, in fact. One of the advices of the gender book is really to follow it, because otherwise you're just doing stuff, but women are not convinced of how efficient it is, and they don't continue coming to the trainings. If you show them that you're working on it and that it works, they continue coming to the training. Okay, so that's it for this example. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat. As I said, check the gender book, the link to which has been posted in the chat. And if there is no further question, I will just present the second example of an initiative that is taken. Yeah, Melih, do you want to say something?
Okay, just small remark that I want to remind you that for the Flying Rabbits, our women team is the Belgian champions. They became champion 2 times, and our open teams are in second division mostly. So this is happening when actually compared to the country, when the women players are better than the men. So if also the level is at the same level, or the women are a bit worse than the men, it may happen way more. So just don't discourage yourself because of this, because if you started to do it, you will see that also women players, when they get involved, they will start to play way better. That's it.
Thank you, Melih. Yes, indeed. So at the Flying Rabbits, as Melih said, women are now very good, but at the beginning, the men were better. And it's actually the case in most clubs that when you start, men beginners get better much quicker than the women, mostly because they have played sports when they were younger, because society encourages them to play sports. So when they start Ultimate Frisbee, they improve very quick, while the women improve more slowly. But with time, women get better, and they can get better than the men. And well, at the Flying Rabbits, when they started, the men were better than the women, but now our women team scores better in Belgium than our men. Okay, no other question. So now I'll present the EU GEM. So EU GEM is for the European Ultimate Gender Equity Manual. This is an initiative that has been taken by several experienced players at the European level. They have applied for a funding at the European Commission, and they have received money to develop a toolkit, a document with information on how to improve women involvement in sports and in Ultimate Frisbee mostly. So their global objective is to develop this manual, but they are doing a lot of other things, and I will present you these things quickly. So in the summer 2020, they have launched a survey amongst European players. I don't know if any of you has received this survey. I had received it per email, and I don't know how they have found the email player. I think through Ultimate Central, the platform. And they have sent a survey among players to learn what is the perception of the different players of the involvement of men and women in Ultimate Frisbee. And based on this, I think they have decided to develop this gender equity manual. Then during the pandemic, they have developed this shout out to women coaches and leaders. They have asked members of the Ultimate Frisbee community in Europe to write small testimonies with pictures of the coaches and leaders who they found inspiring, and mostly women. So the idea was just to promote, to promote the women who are doing a lot in the Ultimate Frisbee community in Europe. Then they have adopted the gender pooling rule from the European Club Championship in October 2021. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this pooling rule. It's just that the gender that is in majority on the line has to pool. And because they have now adopted this mixed gender rule that you have first 4 men and 3 women on the line, second, on one point you have one gender in majority on the line, and then on the 2 following points you have the other gender, and then every second point you change the gender that is on majority on the line. I'm not sure if it is clear. Is it?
I'm explaining by writing.
Okay, thank you. So so there is this gender rule, and EUF, so the European Federation, has adopted the gender rule and the gender pooling rule at the same time in order to promote the women responsibility on the field in European Ultimate. Okay, another thing that they have done, the European Federation, is to organize workshops, webinars, and podcasts about how to improve the involvement of women in mixed Ultimate. Here are a bit some dates, and I will show you pictures of these events and develop a bit more. And then they have started developing this manual that I was talking to you about, which is currently about 60 pages and includes articles about studies and women involvement in sports and Ultimates, and then testimonies from different Ultimate players, and reports from initiatives that have been taken, among which, for example, the initiative of the Flying Rabbits that I just presented you. So that's a summary of what the European Federation is doing, and now more in detail. So here you have examples of the shout-outs that have been done in spring last year. So you have a shout out to here a player from, sorry, her name is Fiona Murnagh, I think from Ireland. She's a coach and a captain in an Irish club team. Then you have Deniz Özçelik here, this guy with the speaker, who's coaching a junior women team in Moscow. Then you have here a shout out to Oderman, who is a coach and captain in my team, actually, in Outlook in Paris. She's coaching and captaining the women team and the mixed team. And then on the left, you have a shout out to James Burbidge, who's, I think, in the UK, a coach of a women team. Sorry, I see a lot of comments in the chat. Yes. And somebody said, we are struggling to adapt real mixed ultimate, still playing 3 or 2 women on the line at most. Okay, so you don't play real mixed. Is it because you don't have enough women, or because you prefer to play with more men on the line? Okay, I'll let you answer to that later. Yeah.
It is both, actually, I think. For example, in our team, there's 6 active players, active women players. So in tournaments, there are mostly 5 of them.
Okay.
And for example, if I play 4 women
That's not enough.
in first 2 lines, yeah, they will get tired too soon. And there's a risk of injury. So
okay, so the main problem
the
is the
first thing
number
comes
of
to my
women.
mind, yeah.
So yeah, to increase the number of women that you have in your teams, one of the channels that they are using at EUF, at the European Federation, is the promotion and the reward of women already involved. So if you don't have many women in your team, but you give them a lot of visibility, you will attract other women. So for example, women who play should go into classes in university and talk about ultimate Frisbee and about what it brings to them, why it is important and relevant to them, and why it, I don't know, changes their life, why it makes their life more enjoyable, or I don't know, like really use the women who are already involved to go and talk to other people. So that's this thing about promotion, and that's why they organize this shout outs. And you can actually visit the European Ultimate Federation Facebook page, because there is a lot of relevant material there that you can use. Okay, so that's for the promotion part. Then, yeah, the webinars. So they have organized one online webinar in April 2021 to discuss what they should include in their manual. So what are the aspects that are important? What are the struggles that teams have? And actually, what is interesting about this online webinar is that most of the participants were either from Germany or from Great Britain, which are the countries that perform the best in mixed at European level. And I think the main issue is that everything is communicated in English, and in these communication channels that are already populated by German players, for example. So that's why I think it's really great what you're doing tonight, because it's already a connection between me, who is absolutely not a player of Turkey, and Turkish players. And you should go and visit all the links that Melih is sending and all of this, because most important is to make a connection with the communities where there are already a lot of women players, to learn from them how they develop and how they developed in the past women ultimate. And also to contribute, like, because they are researching currently how to improve the involvement of women players in ultimate. So you can bring them your challenges, and they will help you like research on how to improve this. Okay, so that's for the webinar. Yeah, then they organized a workshop at the European Club Championship. So I don't know if there were any Turkish team at the European Club Championship, XUCF. No, there were no Turkish team. Okay. Yeah, so that's also the thing. Melih told me that you are participating in European tournaments like Windmill. Maybe you can also ask if they can have such workshops in these tournaments. When you're going to a European tournament, you can also take the opportunity to network with teams there and ask them like if they have any events happening there, and if they don't have any, if they want to organize some, because I think they just don't think of it, but they would be very happy to organize workshops about it. In Windmill, for example, but in any other tournaments that you're visiting in Europe. And then here I put a picture of the French webinar because maybe one of the issues might also be for you the language. A lot of people in France just don't speak English. So that's why not many people from France joined the European webinar about mixed ultimate and women in ultimate. So we just organized another webinar in French in January this year. And we actually found out that it was really interesting because challenges in France are very similar to challenges in Europe, but they just didn't have the opportunity to discuss potential solutions because they don't understand English. So you can also, if some of you speak English, just join the English webinar or contact the European Federation, and then have some people from the European Federation organize a webinar in Turkish for you. Okay, so that's it about the meeting and the discussion. Again, don't hesitate if you have a question or remarks in the chat. Yeah, and finally, they are developing this gender equity manual. Currently, they have almost finished, I think. They are just looking for reviewers, so people who would read their articles and provide feedback. If some of you speak English and want to bring also your challenges there, I think you would also be welcome to read what they have done. You don't have to read 70 pages. You can just choose specific articles that you're interested in. They will also probably help you if you're interested in their initiative. You can say what you're ready to give, the amount of time, and what you think is interesting for you there. And they will help them improve their gender manual so that it will also be relevant for your community. Okay, I think I'm done for the European Federation initiative. Again, any question or any remark, go in the chat. And I will just
Actually, I have a question about the manual. I'm sorry for the interruption, but I got the mail from this manual, so I can share if there's anyone who wants to fill the form about this manual, and I can share all of the documents about it. Or if you want to, I also can share from the social media.
This is great. And there is also the link in the chat now to fill in a form if you want to participate into this gender equity manual. Thank you very much, Kardelen. Sorry for your name pronunciation.
No, you're great.
All right. Good. So don't hesitate to interrupt me. I really won't be offended by this, and I prefer that it's more interactive. So
then I may ask a question, one more question. Most of the tournaments are organized by individuals or teams in our country. So the rules of tournaments are decided by the organizers. And recently the tournaments are mostly played 2 women fixed in the lines, or 2 or 3. So we are discussing among ourselves whether it should be forced to be 3 women, or just saying we don't have enough women and we should play 2 women right now. Because maybe if we force, then teams are more willing to take and promote themselves to the women players. But actually, I can't decide. So I want to learn your perspective there.
Yes, so it's always difficult to impose these things because, of course, you will have teams that drop out because they don't have enough women. But you will also have teams who will ask women who don't play yet to join, just because they have to have a woman on the field. And that's actually how I joined Ultimate Frisbee the first time. I came to one training just like randomly, but I was doing another sport, and I didn't intend to continue Frisbee, but then they needed a woman for a mixed tournament, and they asked me to go. So I went because I had nothing to do on that weekend. So I went to the tournament, and there I decided that actually I want to play Frisbee because the tournament was great. And yeah, that's how I started Frisbee. And maybe if you force teams to have a certain number of women, of course, they will have to take beginner women and women who don't play Frisbee, which will maybe lower a bit their level at the beginning, but that will also increase the community of women playing Ultimate in Turkey. So yeah, I would advocate for it also because that's how I started Ultimate Frisbee.
It was a great answer. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll just continue and don't hesitate to interrupt or write in the chat again. Okay, so the third example of an initiative that is currently taken to increase the number of women and how they enjoy Ultimate is this Women in Ultimate project that is currently being conducted in Belgium. So it's a small group of women players in Belgium, 2 women from the Flanders region and 3 women from the Brussels region. So in Belgium, you have 3 regions that speak different languages and have a bit different cultures, but it's still one country. And actually, the sport in Belgium is organized like this in the institutions that it depends on the language. So you have the 3 regions, and the 3 regions can receive funding for developing sports. And so there are 2 players, women players in the region of Flanders who have asked for a funding. They have replied to a call for offer, and they have received funding to promote Women in Ultimate through different kind of services, and I will show them to you. And then they have contacted us in another region because we also have access to funding in our region, and so we built a common project basically based on how they received funding, and we applied for funding in Brussels, but we didn't get it in Brussels. But still, we're conducting the project because we really want it to happen. So even without money, we're doing it. But yeah, what is good for them is that they receive funding, and that enables them to do more with it. And I will show you what they are doing with it. So first, they are organizing some camps for junior women because yeah, to increase the number of players, as you said, it's good to start when you're a junior. So you talked about high school. Our camps start much earlier than high school. The players that join these camps, they are like between 11 and 18. And actually, some of the players also start earlier at 9. And I think the youngest player that I have seen was 6 years old, but it was a guy and not a woman. So yeah, organizing camps for juniors is key to attract players. And then, of course, from the moment that you have enough juniors, you can organize junior teams. And then when you have enough junior teams, you can organize junior championships. But this all takes a lot of time to organize. And we, with Melih, we were coaching juniors in our club in Brussels, and we were struggling. We only had 15 juniors from different ages, and boys and girls playing together. Also, boys and girls who were 10 years old and who were 18 years old, they were all playing together because we didn't have enough players. But it's already a good beginning. The most important is to give energy. You give them a field, you give them a coach, you give them a Frisbee, and you make them play games. And as long as they enjoy, they will stay, and they will talk about it to their friends, and they will bring their friends. And that's how you start junior teams. So these girls, the women who started the Women in Ultimate project, they first applied to receive money to organize these camps. So they needed money to rent fields mostly. And then they used also the money to provide some food to the participants, to the clubs, and for promotions. Then with this money, they also rented fields to have women hats. So hats, I'm not sure everyone is familiar with this. It's just tournaments where you don't have teams, just everybody comes, and then you build teams randomly with the players who come. And I think we had one last summer in July, and it was really good because you had very experienced women playing together with beginner women, and this was a very good experience for all the women. Then they also invested in communication on women events and opportunities. So they created a page on the website of the federation. But of course, for this, you need to have a federation and a website of the federation, which is maybe the first step to take in Turkey. I don't know if you have a website. Well, if you only have, you have a website? Okay. So if you have a website, have a dedicated page for women, where you just put pictures of women playing. So that's where they do also promotion of players. Basically, they take a picture of the player and they ask the player to tell people when they started to play and in which club they played and why they like Ultimate Frisbee. And actually, this is something that we are doing here in Belgium, but that I was already doing in Russia. So in the year that I started Ultimate Frisbee, I had absolutely no experience. But in my team, there was one guy from the university, because I was still a student, and he was writing in the journal of the university, and he was playing Frisbee, and so he asked me to have an interview with me, and I was a bit like honored and surprised because I had been playing for like 3 months or something, and I was a bad player, but still he wanted to interview me, and then he just asked like where I come from and why I joined the Ultimate Frisbee team, and why I think other women should also join the team. And he made an article, and that brought actually 3 other international students to the team in the next semester. So that was really efficient in bringing more players to the team. So that is something that happened in Russia, but as you see in Belgium, they are doing the same. And I think this is also a good thing that you could use. Then because they received money, they also designed some shirts, and I will show you the design of the shirts just for promotion of the project. And finally, they are developing a toolkit for advices on how to recruit women, how to coach them so that they enjoy the trainings, and how to make sure that they remain in the clubs. But this toolkit doesn't exist yet. They are still in the process of developing. So this is an example of the youth camp. I think this one happened in February, and they will organize another one in April and another one in May. Yeah, so that's just a picture of the people who participate. Also very important, if you manage to organize an event for junior women, do a lot of promotion about it. Take pictures and share it on social media. The same thing as for the webinar today, for example. I wasn't really following that this thing would happen, but I think it's really important to say to the world that you have done this webinar and that people attended, because we actually have a lot of people who participate. I'm really surprised, and it's great. So yeah, anything that you do, it's important to promote it. So you see, they are doing a very nice promotion. They also designed a logo for their thing, which Melih doesn't like at all because it looks a bit like a penis, but still, it's a beautiful logo if you don't think of the penis form. And yeah, they have designed colors and shirts, but I'll show you that afterwards. That is the website, the web page that they have on the website. And this is just the page about the event. So they use this page to promote, for example, the playoffs, so the finals of the Women's Championship in Belgium. Also, there were tryouts for the women national team, so they also promote these. And they also promote everything about mixed because it involves a lot of women. So that's for the event page. And that's what the t-shirt could look like. I'm not certain that this is the final design that they have chosen, but that was one of the options. Yeah, just showcasing the logo and the colors. And the idea is that they would sell these t-shirts to everyone who plays in Belgium to promote the project, but also to get some money to rent more fields and organize more events for women and for junior women. Okay, so no questions in the chat. So that's for the t-shirts and merchandising. For the toolkit that I was talking to you about, they are still developing it, but what it will contain is first a discussion of why it is important to involve more women and especially junior women in Ultimate. And then some tools to do it, how to organize initiations, how, where, when is the most relevant time. So mostly I think during holidays or in the weekend just before or after the holidays, and when people are available to coach them, because currently, for example, they are organizing one in April, but it's a bit bad timing because it's not during a weekend, so there are no people available to coach because people are working. So yeah, I think they have done mistakes in the past, and so they use these mistakes to improve when others will do the same as they did. Yeah, then have communication about the events that you organize, and then the potential content of these initiations, what kind of exercises you can make, and what mistakes you should not make when you are talking to junior women, when you organize exercises and trainings. And finally, there would be a last part in the toolkit is what kind of help you can benefit from the federation, from other clubs, and from their project as Women in Ultimate. So that is very specific to our situation, but maybe there will be some tips that you can use from this toolkit. Okay, so that's the first part of their project, Women in Ultimate. And then here is the second part. Beyond organizing camps for juniors and developing the communication of the project, they have also launched a survey last summer that they have sent to all the clubs in Belgium to try to gather data on how people see Women in Ultimate and how people see mixed ultimate, whether they think that women have the same place and the same responsibility as men in teams, whether they see women as good players as men, and etc. So there were different questions. I will give you some examples of the results afterwards. But yeah, the most important was to collect data so as to define what is necessary to improve the place of women in Ultimate in Belgium. So beyond this survey, they also took statistics in the summer. So that's actually the statistics that I talked to you about from the Flying Rabbits, because it was us, the players from the Flying Rabbits, who attended mixed games during the summer, and then were just writing down that was a pass from a guy on a guy, a pass from a woman on the guy. And then we designed some statistics based on that, and I will show you the results afterwards. And finally, we are going to organize, but this hasn't started yet, sessions in the clubs in Brussels, because Brussels is very small and there are a lot of clubs in Brussels. And so we are going to visit the trainings in the different places in Brussels and organize a discussion between the players of the club so that they talk and listen to each other, because that's based on the Flying Rabbits experience. As I told you, it's important to discuss about it, to make sure that everyone is aware that there is a problem for women, that they need to feel more recognized and responsible on the field. And then to so discuss that it's a problem and that it needs to be improved, and how everyone can behave better so that it is improved on the field. So we will help the club to have these sessions, and then we will have a training with coaches to give them some tips on different kind of exercise and rules in the trainings that they can implement. So this is statistics. I talked to you at the very beginning of this webinar about knowing the number of women who are playing in Turkey. So you said that you have at least 70. Ideally, the best would be to have a more institutionalized way of counting. For example, you could ask each club to know how many players they have and how many players are men, how many players are women. Just to have an idea and to see as clearly as in this graph, for example. So you see in purple you have the men and in green you have the women, and you see that there is a lack of women in Belgium. If you want to play mixed, you won't have enough women, clearly. So this is just a basic objective information that you need to have in order to receive money for your initiatives about promoting women, and in order to convince all the players that they need to promote women in Ultimate. So that's the first graph. Then this was some results of the survey that was launched this summer. So for example, one question was, do you think that men and women are equal on the Frisbee field? And here you can see that actually, I think 1/3 of the people disagree, think that men and women are not equal on the field. So that's the players, how they answered. A third of the players thought that they are not equal. About the coaches, the coaches think more that men and women are equal on the field, but yeah, their perception should be transmitted to the players because obviously it's not the case currently. Yeah, then another question was men often occupy the space of women on the field, and you see here that there are a lot of people who agree, and if a lot of people think that men are occupying the space of women on the field, that means that they will agree on doing some initiative to try to change this. So collecting this data actually helps people accepting better when you're trying some rules to improve the situation. So it just raises awareness on the situation. So yeah, the survey is a good tool for this. You can have a survey if you think that people will answer it. Sometimes you have the issue that when you launch a survey online, people just don't answer because you don't go and ask them directly. So sometimes you will need other tools like interviews, for example, contacting the people one by one. This way you will collect less data, but maybe also more qualitative data because you can also ask people to give precisions on their opinions and stuff. So that's the first thing that they did in the summer. And then the statistics. So that's the result of the statistics of one game that we took. And that's one kind of statistics. So it was one team called Armada against one team called Rabbits. So the Rabbits is our team. And the assist, so is the number of throws that were made by men to score the points, by men or women to score the point. And you can see here on the graph on the left that around a bit more than 50% of the assists, 37% of the assists were thrown from a man to a man, which is much more than the assists that were thrown from a woman to a woman. And then, yeah, this is something, for example, that needs to be more equal because you have the same number of men and women on the field, considering the gender rule that was adopted in this game. So in theory, you should have an equal percentage of men and women scoring the assist, throwing the assist. So yeah, it's just data showing that that women should take more responsibilities on the field. And on the right, you have the statistics of the take. The take is when you receive the pull, is it a man or a woman who takes the disc to throw the first throw, the first pass? When you receive the pull and after a turn. So when you were in defense and you made a defense, you get the offense. Is it a man or a woman who will take the first disc to throw it? And here you can see that 75% of the men, of the time, it was a man who took the disc to throw the first throw. And this is a question of responsibility. So on the field, that means that 75% of the time, men take the responsibility to go and pick up the disc to throw the first throw. And this is also a question, like why is it always men who would go and take the disc? Because it is really enjoyable to go and take the risk and have the responsibility to throw the first throw. So women should be pushed to do it more often, and also should feel more comfortable doing it. Okay, these are just examples of these statistics because actually we took a lot of statistics and there are more results, but it's just a small extract because it would take 2 hours to present. Okay, and finally, so the sessions that I talked to you about, the discussions and the training with coaches. I think that's it for this example on the Women in Ultimate project. Yeah, and then there is a last part of the presentation about good practices. What can you do in Turkey to improve Women in Ultimate? But before that, maybe there is any question on this project. I'm sorry, there is a lot of information and I'm talking for a very long time. Again, do not hesitate to interrupt me or to ask questions or remark if you have on the things that we have done. If there is no question, we will just go into the last part of the presentation. I don't know what time it is. Oh my God, I've been talking for over an hour. All right. Yeah, good practices. It's just a summary of the examples that I have given to you and this discussions that we had. What to do to have more women to play in Turkey and to keep them. First thing, collect data, stream games, and survey and interview players, and read articles and reports from others' experiences. Organize webinars like today. Second thing, organize discussions with your teammates to raise awareness and make sure everyone feels included and feels that their opinions are taken into account. And third thing, facilitate communication on and off the field, involve the coaches, yeah, make sure that everybody talks about the fact that they have enough responsibilities or not. That's about talking. Yeah, do communications face-to-face instead of online or through WhatsApp. Talking is really important. Then experiment stuff. Try to use single gender trainings and exercises. Try to use positive discrimination rules. Take them from the gender books and use them in trainings. Even if they don't work or if people don't like them, just try them once. And if it doesn't work, then discuss why it didn't work and etc. And finally, look for women leadership in your team. So if you don't have many women, use these women, try to give them more responsibilities and try to send them out so that they will talk to other women and bring more women to your training. So talk, experiment, and then adopt. That's the next stage already, but to have a very good and efficient mixed game, you can also use some tactics on the games. And there I would talk about my experience in the French national mixed team. We actually were more efficient on the field when we were using the fact that women have some abilities on the field and men other abilities on the field. Men most of the time poach a lot on the field to try to intercept also throws to women, for example. So use these poaches when you have women on the field, and that the defenders would poach on these women. If these women cut, right, the men would poach on them, and that means that their player would be free. So you should exploit this opportunity. So you should think that you will have this opportunity because men have a tendency to poach. So try to anticipate all the tactic and strategical aspects of the fact that you have men and women on the field. Yeah, so exploit the defensive poach, give space to all the cutters. So that means when a woman is cutting deep, for example, in the end zone, the men should make sure that their defenders will not go and cover the deep cuts. And if their men are going to cover the deep cuts, they should cut towards the disc to exploit this poach again. Trust women cuts, that means throw the pass even if the defender is very close to your women, because women don't need to have a lot of advance to catch their discs because they are used to be very close to their players, because the differences in physical level between women is much smaller than the differences in physical level between men. Trust women breaks. So when a woman has a disc in their hands, don't come in the open side 5 meters to the disc, but try to cut in the break side because they can also throw breaks, or try to cut long because they can also throw longs. And if they can't, it's just by doing that they will manage to do it. So yeah, trust the fact that women can throw breaks and longs as well. And finally, in the tactics, you can also try to divide genders on the field. For example, if you have three women and 4 men on the line, you can have the 3 women handling, so you have only men downfield doing the cutting, and that would also help avoid the poaching in the defense. And you can also do the reverse, have just the men handling and just women downfield doing the cutting. So that's more on a very concrete strategic point of view. Once you already have enough women on your team, how to exploit it to have a more efficient mixed game. Okay, and finally, in the trainings, how can you train with more exploiting the women potential? Play on different surfaces, mixed on grass, but also indoor, and when there is wind, and on the sand. Also because, for example, sand and in the wind reduces the inequalities between men and women. Because, for example, when there is a lot of wind, it is more important to throw accurate, and women can't throw as accurate as men. And it is less important to be very tall because the throws will anyway fly away. And on the sand, for example, it is more difficult to jump higher. So the fact that men jump higher than women will be less important on the sand. So play mixed on different surfaces. Then play in smaller formats, 2 against 2 or 3 against 3, because it enables everyone to touch the disc and to take responsibilities on the field. So nobody can hide in the stack, for example. Also, you can force everyone to throw the first open option. So also throw on women if they are open, even if their defender is very close to them. Adapt the one-to-one defense to skills and capacities instead of genders. For example, you can have women defend the in cuts, the cuts towards the disc, and men covering the long cuts, so cuts towards the end zones. Instead of having women defending only on women and men defending only on men. So that's one strategy, but you can also have women defending on handlers, for example, or other kind of stuff. Use the gender pooling rules and other non-comfort zone rules. Sorry. So, for example, impose in the trainings that only women can throw long throws, or only women can throw breaks, or well, such positive discrimination rules. And finally, play in even numbers to encourage mixed games. That was also an idea from the Flying Rabbits. If you play 6 against 6, you have more chances to have 3 women and 4 men on the field. So you don't have a majority of men on the field at any point. You have the same number on each gender, and this also encourages the mixed game. Okay, what else? This is for your ideas. If you have any other ideas on how to promote women in Ultimate. Yeah, I don't know if you're not completely tired of me speaking. That's basically the end of the presentation. So if anyone wants to share any ideas, feel free to. This is your space to discuss and talk.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. It was long but not boring, for sure. And actually, I think it's hard to speak that long, but you handle it so well. Thank you for joining us. I want to ask your opinion on mixed and between mixed and women ultimate. Which one do you prefer? Because I prefer mixed games over men. So I want to learn your perspective and your motivation behind that.
Yeah, it's very funny because actually, as most of the women, I prefer women than mixed. Even though I've played mixed at very, very high level, I always have this feeling that as a woman, you have more opportunities to show your game when you play with women. Because like even discussing mixed ultimate and playing with men who are very attentive not to take the space of women, etc., there is always this issue that at some point they will take more responsibility than you, even though you are more experienced.
And we are in Turkey, even so much behind from that. So we have a long way to go.
Yes, and I'm not even sure because the thing is, this happens a lot when the game gets very tight. You know, when the scores are one score, each team's score after each other. In all the teams, it will be the case that the men try to take the responsibility in this case. So it's not really related to culture. I think it's well, it's culture, but it's a culture that exists everywhere, and I'm not certain that you're behind on this.
And then I want to share a fun fact about me, my experience. My first cup, first award in Ultimate Frisbee comes with a universe point, which is woman assist to a woman in my team. So I just
And
want
you
to share.
remember about it.
Yeah, it was my first cup.
So this is a very nice fun fact. But you know what is interesting is that you remember about it. If it was a man on a man, you wouldn't remember about it because there are so many of these. So that
Yeah.
just shows that there are so little times that it's a woman on a woman. But it's great that you remember because you can use it as a promotion fun fact.
There's actually something that I want to ask you, or maybe we can just discuss together about the woman leadership. So I might miss that point at the beginning, but have you ever been a captain at any point in your ultimate background?
Yes. So in the Flying Rabbits, our team with Melih, last summer in the mixed league, I was coaching and captain of the team. So most of the time,
I'm
yeah.
sorry for interruption. The reason that I'm asking that question because there's not a lot of women captains in Turkey. I know that the number of the women players affect that too, but I see that a lot because women players hesitate about it a lot. Maybe, I don't know, it's not only about gender. Maybe it sometimes can be about experience or sports background or something. But for example, I hesitated a lot about it being captain too. I'm really happy about my decision right now, but by that time I really hesitated, and I see that this a lot happens, and numbers of captains, women captains, is very less in Turkey.
Yes. So to make people more confident to take a captain or coaching role, because most of the time, like, I don't know, maybe in Turkey it's always the same person who's captain and coach. But anyway, to feel more confident about it, there is an article that talks about these people who have not much experience but are coaches, and the fact that they are taking this responsibility even if they are not self-confident means that they are good coaches already. Because if they don't do it, who will do it? And trying is the most important. And women have less self-confidence than men in general. So you will always not feel self-confident enough to take a responsibility. And I think in my case, I think it's also a question of personality. I am more self-confident than a lot of people, but still, on average, less than the men who have my experience and background, I would say. So that's why I also force myself to take risks, and I enjoy it a lot. I'm doing stuff when I'm not sure that it will work. For example, this webinar tonight, I've been talking for an hour and a half, and it is difficult, as you said, Olgu, that because I'm why would I have something to say to these people? Why would they listen to me at all? And maybe if I were a man, I wouldn't have wondered about it.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You were experienced while you were captain, but you didn't feel actually enough while comparing with the men, right?
Actually, in the Flying Rabbits team, not so much, because most of the players, they are not so experienced. And I think I felt more confident because I was coming from another place. I have experience in different places. And so anywhere I come, any team that I will play with now, I feel confident that I have experience in other teams. And I think that's, for any player, men or women, playing in different teams and in different countries is always a source of confidence. Look at Melih. He also played in other teams, and now he's a coach in our team because he has this experience from other countries and other teams. So send women also in other countries and other teams, and then they come back and they take more leadership positions.
So I guess when it comes to experience, it's not about only gender issue. So mostly about the self-confidence or something.
Yes, which is a lot about personality, but as I said, in general, men are more self-confident than women, and they are also more pushed to take risks than women. There are studies about it. I don't have the data in my mind now, but there are a lot of sociology studies that explain why in their childhood and education, men are more pushed to speak in public, to take initiatives and be, for example, self-entrepreneur, to launch startups and stuff like that. Also in the business sector, that men are more pushed to take risks than women.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mentioned about a form that that has 70 participants, women participants, and there were a lot of responses about that women are actually very afraid of making mistakes. So that's the reason maybe they're not taking any initiatives or something. So they actually need some comfort zone. That's why probably you like women division more than a real mixed.
So yeah, have you already had a day with them where they play just between women?
Sorry, can you ask it again? I couldn't understand that.
Yeah. Did you already have a day where you managed to have them play just between women and not in mixed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're trying to do trainings.
And do they feel better in these trainings?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. We try to taking feedbacks from them, and the common idea was they said that they really feel better because they didn't afraid while making mistakes, or they tried something that they couldn't even try to do in the teams training or something.
Okay. Another thing that you could do is also call someone, a woman playing in another country, to come for a clinic, for example.
Yeah, we tried that one too, but it didn't work because of the pandemic.
Yeah, we also had this issue.
Unfortunately, but we're trying to do the best as we can do about it.
Yeah, but if it didn't work, maybe it will work in the future. And this is also like at the same time communicating and promoting like a woman player playing in another country, showing that it's great to play as a woman and all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll keep trying about it because it's, I mean, you really showed a lot of aspects that we don't have any idea about today.
Cool. Okay, I'm happy about it. And also something that you could try to organize is for women to have fun together. For example, a women tournament. And if you don't have enough women, oops, my battery is running low. If you don't have enough women to do a real tournament, you can do a tournament with teams of 4, for example. So they play 4 against 4, and then you have, I don't know, 4 teams of 4. That would already be enough to have like a fun game, a fun day.
We're actually planning to do a clinic next week. So at the end of the drills or something, maybe we can try little tournament, not tournament, but we'll try
some
the
games.
Yeah, mixed teams with women. So we can try that one.
That's great. And also, yeah, try to have in your trainings parts of the trainings where women just play between themselves, so they feel the difference and they can also bring the things that they learn as playing just between women to the mixed game. Okay, it is possible that my computer turns off relatively soon.
Also, like it's really small information. I think when you said that women are a bit more afraid to take risks also in the trainings. So I think that's a big problem from my side, because trainings are the places that you should make mistakes. If you are not making any mistakes in the trainings, that means that training is really bad for you because you didn't learn anything. You have to make mistakes in every training, so that means that you are pushing yourself through to your limit a bit more. So this is in general, and if you are afraid to do it, or if any, let's say you are afraid because the captain's reactions and stuff, I think you should make a captain's meeting in the country to learn how to make proper trainings, because seriously, you have to make mistakes, especially in the trainings. During also the training match, because practice is different. So when you start to do better, let's say for the throws, when you throw proper backhands at the training, still you cannot do it in the match because the mark will be more stressful, the match will be more stressful. So you have to try it in the match. And if you are saying that your captain is getting angry or anything, giving reactions to anyone, it doesn't have to be a woman or man, that means that that match is not helping you to improve. You have to push your limits for in the trainings all the time.
Yeah, as you said, the pressure is bigger at the tournaments or something. So, I mean, that was the starting point, actually. I mean, Alex, Olga, and I, and a lot of people started to discuss about this question. We're not a committee or something, but we're trying to do best as we can do about solving this problem about the woman. Actually, it's not about the woman, but the real mixed problem, I guess.
But even if you're not a federation or something official, you should communicate, because if there is anyone anywhere in Turkey or in the Turkish ultimate community who has the same ideas or who would be interested in what you do, they need to have a contact. And so just creating a web page and giving you a name as a group of people who are working on this, just to organize this thing, will help you in doing what you want to do, basically. And then this session with the coaches that Melih was talking about, I think it's best if it's given by someone who knows the field. Because, for example, the webinar that I gave tonight, so I'm happy that I gave some insights that you're interested in, but I'm not certain that I was relevant and interesting for everyone all the time. So maybe you also need to have like people who are playing in Turkey, who are coaches, captains, like yourself, that you also can talk, because you have experience and you see the problems in the country. So it is important that you say what you see. And then you ask external people to come and talk about their experience and stuff. But most important is that you talk out what you need and what should be improved in the country, and that people hear that.
I guess having a federation or something, I guess in better words, having something more official is very helpful. Like from the slides I saw or I learned today from you, because at the opposite, always someone or something from teams are trying to take initiatives to do some organization, some tournaments or something, like such as today. So we're also trying to strive about it, that too. I mean, more official committee about it, about improving the mixed sports in Turkey. So it will be helpful too about trying to be more official about it. So because it's actually very hard for a lot of people to hear our voice, hear what we're trying to do, what we're trying to improve, when we're really unofficial, I mean.
And who is organizing the championships in Turkey?
There's actually something called Oyunun Ruhu Derneği. It's kind of a society. I can say maybe they're organizing that, but actually me, Olgu, Alex, Egemen, and we're trying a lot about it too.
But there is no official championship. Don't think like here.
Ah, okay.
I tried the question about the clinic, women clinic, I thought.
So
No, there's
basically,
no championship, no.
there are club tournaments and head tournaments, but that's it. No championships.
Okay.
There once
And-
was a league, but now we don't have that too.
Okay. And would people be interested in having a championship, something more official?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's a lot of people hungry about the ultimate in Turkey, but there's not a lot of people who actually take initiatives about organizing things. So here we are.
But it's great that you're doing this. I mean, this webinar tonight, before thinking of having a championship. Okay, but yeah, like even just with tournaments, it's you can already work on mixed and women. But if you want to have something official, maybe starting with the championships also centralizes the ambitious people, because people who play ultimate and who are very involved in the sport and in the community, it's in general people who like to have competition and to win and stuff and to strive for an objective. And so organizing a championship also gives an objective to all the people in the Turkish ultimate community. And if you give a common objective to everyone, you focus their attention on one point. And if you focus their attention here, you can use this place also to promote mixed ultimate and women in ultimate. But yeah, you first need to have the attention of all the players in one place. And that's why like the championship is important.
So if there's not anyone who have a question or something to discuss about today, I guess I might thank you about this session because it was really helpful and I heard a lot of things about that I don't know today. Because I had no idea what's going on like in the international area, specifically about the woman in ultimate. So it was very efficient. And would it be okay if we will share your slide with a lot of people in our community or something?
Of
because
course.
I really liked your slide as I said at the beginning.
Yes, no problem.
Okay then. So thanks a lot. We really appreciate about your efforts, and you talked about, I guess, more than a one and a half hour, and it was great to listen you at that point. I hope it was interactive as the way you want.
Yeah, thank you so much for organizing it and for listening for so long and for asking questions and yeah, making a discussion. It's really nice.
I really enjoyed all of the minutes about this session.
And I enjoyed learning about Turkish Ultimate. I hope I can visit a tournament in Turkey.
It will be best. I was just gonna offer that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'll come one day with Melih.
Okay, let us know then.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay then, thanks a lot and have a nice day.
You too. A nice evening. Bye.
Bye.